Woods Farm here, just back out working on the Volkswagen Kubelwagen. So today, I'm jumping ahead. I was planning on tackling that rear firewall, but I've kind of got the steering column sort of in place, and I want to work on this front firewall, but I also want to make sure the steering column's supported. So the Kubelwagen has this kind of like bar that kind of extends and forms the lower part of the dash, and the dash is what, so you can see it here, is what kind of supports that steering column on the back end. So I've got some 3/4 inch pipe, and I'm going to go ahead and try to fabricate this, if anything, just so I can tack it in place and have something to support the steering column. So that's what I'm going to work on today. I'm not going to get too carried away. We'll work on that, and then if that goes well, we'll maybe do a bit of patterning for the upper section of this firewall, and maybe work on some other odds and ends. So yeah, keep watching, and we'll see how this goes. Okay, so I don't have a hydraulic pipe bender. Actually, I don't have a pipe bender of any kind. So I'm going to try something. Hopefully I don't trash this piece of 3/4 inch pipe, but I'm going to try to do a couple of splices, kind of pie cuts, and bend this to the appropriate angle, and then tack it or weld it in place, and then grind it all down smooth. And see, that should get me a pretty good result, hopefully. I've never done anything like this before, so just going to take it slow, and we'll see how it goes. So that's 2 notches. I'm going to try one more. Okay, so I actually reconsidered, and I just cleaned out the 1 notch a bit, and put a little more force on it to bend it to get together a little tighter, and that's the curve we're left with. So I'm going to go with that. Now, the whole part of this project is being able to get a bend on the other side at the right, not necessarily, the angle here is probably not the problem. I'm worried about it being twisted. So, you know, it needs to lay flat. That's going to be the tricky part. Figuring out where to put this bend, and making sure it's on the same plane, I guess. So what I went ahead and did is I drew a little diagram right on my workbench of the bend that I've already done on this side, which I feel like is in the right ballpark. So now I've using a series of measurements from the center. I know the distance between the 2 door pillars is 53 inches, 26.5. From the center out, I've kind of calculated where these cuts need to be to get the bend in approximately the right position. So, I don't know, here goes nothing. So we're in the ballpark. You can see that it's sitting flush on the bench, which is what I was worried about. I was worried about like one side being up, you know, having it warped. And there's the line I gotta make, so I might be out half an inch, which is easy because I can just widen these slots just a tad. Be able to bend it in no problem. And you can see I drew a gut. That's why I drew the diagram, so I'd know they get the same arc. Okay, that's the end result. Pretty happy with it. First time I've done anything like this. I intentionally cut it, you know, a hair too long, but it's gonna work. It won't fit right now, but I just gotta grind it down a bit on each end and weld the seams, and it's gonna be a perfect fit. So there we go, after she's all sanded up. You can't even tell. Pretty happy with that actually, especially on the outer edge, you know, on the top. You can't see any sort of indication that there's a weld, and it's nice and smooth, so it's perfect. So the lower dash bars installed and good to go. Now I'm just working on this steering column. There's a steel panel that comes down from the top part of the dash down to the bar. It's got a hole in it that indexes the steering column. Not exactly sure what kind of mechanism was in place to support this for a Kubelwagen, but for the thing, there's a tube that kind of forms a steering column. The steering shaft goes through the tube and it has a bracket on it. I don't know if you can see that. There's a bracket welded onto the tube, and that got bolted into a support bracket. So that's just what I'm going to build right now, is the support bracket for this, which is going to get welded up into this cross piece. This is really bugging me. I don't know if you can see that, but there's my seat. There's the steering wheel. They are not lined up. That seat is centered right in the rails, right in the middle of the floor pan. I want to say that steering wheel should be more in line with the seat. Now, I'm 99% sure the steering box is in the right place. There was like a notch or something that indexed it into the correct location. And there's a bracket on the beam, and if it was any more over to the, as we're looking at it, to the right, which is the way that the steering wheel needs to go, that stopping piece wouldn't clear that bracket. So the steering box is in the right place. That is more or less has an equal distance from here to the steering wheel, so it's more or less even with the dash, but you can see it more distinctly from the back. It's not in line with the seat. So I don't really know. I mean, there's a bushing here that allows some amount of flex, but as I bring the steering wheel over this way, it's clearly not flush with the dash now. It's definitely crooked. So I don't know. That's more in line with the seat, but it's still not lined up with the seat. And I mean, now you can totally see that it's crooked. I don't know. I'm curious. I might go look at the thing body in the backyard and see what that looks like. Get a better idea. So that's what I'm left with when it comes to a bracket. Like I said, there's another plate that comes down here to the lower dash bar, and it also has a hole in it, also supports it. So I'm just working with what I have. I mean, this tube for the steering shaft, I mean, it's got the bracket on it, might as well use it. Framework for the front end is almost done. There's not much more to do, except maybe, however I'm going to finish off this area here, I might have some tubular steel, because I want it to be strong in terms of the tow hooks are mounted up here, and it's all got to be kind of integrated. But really, framework wise, it's done. A little play side to side. I don't know, I might need some more cross braces, but all in all, pretty good. Finally got some sun. It looks like spring's here.